This is quite possibly the worst commercial on TV because of the psychological subliminal messaging therein. Let's get into it. My name is Casey, I'm the Rumble Right Dad, and I created this channel in order that I can complain on the internet and maybe a few people will listen to me. But one of the things that annoys me the most as a millennial, an older millennial, is commercials on TV and how they sold my generation a bill of goods that was not true. Let's look into one that might not come across as horrible at first, but is actually a wretched piece of feminist garbage. If you can, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's get into Marriot Bonvoy and how they are absolutely selling women down the river.
What did you bring back from your last trip? A dumpling you'll never forget.
Marriot Bonvoy is a chain of hotels who is trying to sell you on the elitist project that if you're single and young, the pinnacle of life isn't to build a family, to build a home, to build something meaningful and purposeful. It is to build your passport and all the bookings therein. And they're saying that traveling alone is how you find yourself. Not only that, but a young lady traveling alone, which when we get into some of the countries she goes to, I'll express why that might not be the greatest idea.
What nature truly feels like. A bit of local art.
The second portion shows the young lady in passage in Africa or somewhere else where she can see native elephants. And I've been to Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. And I would say without a doubt that traveling alone through those countries as a young woman is probably not the greatest idea. And this just demonstrates some of the ways that people from America, perhaps, or other Western countries might be a little bit delusional about what these cultures are really like. Because first of all, even getting through customs without being completely taken advantage of is difficult. And when you're experienced with it, it is difficult. When you're a man, it is still difficult. When you are from a Western country, you appear to be a mark. And when you're a young lady from a Western country, you probably feel it with a little bit more severity. I can say firsthand, as I've led trips into sub-Saharan Africa, this is a difficult thing to do, even when you're experienced with it. Probably not the greatest idea if you're a single young woman traveling alone.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Okay, let's assume for this next part that the bit of local art that she gets is still in the sub-Saharan African continent. I'm not sure. The sun looks like it might be more from, Middle Eastern countries perhaps, but I can tell you without a question that getting a vaccine or getting a medical treatment or getting stuck with a needle in a place where the prevalence of HIV is so high is not something I would do. Now, we had people that traveled with us that failed to get the vaccines necessary to get back into the United States, and we simply paid one of our handlers or one of the people assisting us while we were there to go get fraudulent documents rather than having them pricked with a needle in a place where we are not necessarily super trustworthy of what the medical interventions will look like in that country. Getting a tattoo, I have nothing against that, but doing it in sub-Saharan Africa, I wouldn't do that. And by the way, secondarily to this whole thing is this young lady is not that attractive. Now, I'm not saying she's unattractive. She's an Ohio 6.5 or 7.3, but that is not someone who they are selling you on the idea that you can accomplish this elite lifestyle in a way just by building your money enough that you can travel. And then this average girl becomes an elite because she can afford a Marriot Bonvoy. It seems maybe that's a road too far in terms of my conclusions, but having an average looking woman on a commercial that's this widely disseminated is not a choice that went through the producers without being a conscious decision that they made.
A soulmate for the week. Finding out.
Part of the reason I wanted to criticize this commercial was because it was roundly feminist. And when they said that she found a soulmate, I felt there was redemption in the mix. But then they said a soulmate for a week. And being honest, the gentleman that she considers her weekly soulmate is by orders of magnitude more attractive than she is. So perhaps she might have wanted to hang on to that a French appearing or Italian soulmate that she found out there on the road. But it also implies sort of these relationships that, well, they're just transactional. You're here for a week, I'm here for a week. Of course, these things happen during wartime, during other times, but this woman is going and seeking this out. She finds a soulmate for a week, but it's not worth her time when she gets back to America, presumably. That is a dump of BS that's landing on the heads of the people that see this commercial, especially the impressionable young women that I am concerned will see something like this and think that that is the way to pursue meaning. Soulmates for a week, tattoos, traveling alone, going to safaris. This is not the way to build in meaning into life. And of course, Marriot Bonvoy is simply selling you on their hotels, but they're selling you on the elite lifestyle that they're trying to give you the impression comes with it.
Finding out you love a good poncho.
Okay, then she finds herself in the rain with these children, and she's working to undress the poncho off of some of these children. And my question is this: whose flipping kids are these in this commercial? So this young lady who might actually have a craving to have a family or to have children of her own or to have company with one of the greatest ways of finding meaning and purpose in her life, she just happens to find that with someone else's kids. Even if it's her sister's kids, they're obviously not hers. This is, again, the feminist project in one commercial. And this part especially annoys me as a father of four. Ultimately, if you want to take ponchos off of kids, get your own.
And glamping. And that durian is everything they say it is. Everywhere you go with Marriott Bonvoy shapes you, making you the greatest souvenir of all. Explore.
Is this really the worst commercial ever?
Okay, then lastly, there's more glamping, traveling into dangerous parts of the world by yourself. Obviously, she says durian is, as good as they say it is. That might be Southeast Asia. Again, I don't know anything about that region of the world. I've been to India before, but wouldn't go there alone if I was a young woman. And then they say at the end, the greatest part about these travels is finding yourself. So really, this is the misrepresentation of meaning and purpose. They are trying to sell you. Of course, it's a product, and I understand that, but they're trying to sell you on, you will be elite if you're able to travel alone, and you'll find yourself. And that is quite obviously a misrepresentation, but it is the feminist misrepresentation of what young women should be after. And if anyone cares to listen to this who is a young lady, don't bite the poison apple, because this will not provide the meaning, purpose, and value that you want in your life. And it's going to cost you a lot of money on top of it. And it's going to put you in a multitude of dangerous situations. And if you find that soulmate for a week while you're out there on the road, just keep him and go there. And maybe then you actually did find yourself, because we are most available to find ourselves in relationship to others. You can be a Buddhist monk and go into the desert and meditate for a dozen years, or you can perhaps relate to others around you and find ways to build in that meaning and purpose as they identify who you are in a reflection to you, and you're able to inwardly identify yourself through the relationships, the building of a future that has a legacy to it. Because if you continue to just waste your money on travel and do an email job forever for that purpose, then you will find yourself alone and trying to have somebody who's an automaton who doesn't care about you to take care of you when you're an old person later in life, instead of having a collection and gaggle of grandchildren and children around you that you can celebrate and say, this was my legacy. Dear Marriot Bonvoy, thanks for the sale of falsities that you gave to young women and just the feminist project in this commercial. And I hope that no one bites that apple. And I'm glad that, frankly, no one watches TV that has commercials anymore, but this one was on Netflix. That's why I saw it. That's why it drove me nuts. And I wish I could cancel Netflix, but my kids watch a few shows on there. So if anybody likes to listen to me complain, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you real soon.